Hi, my name is Will, and I've been a software developer since I was 16. And then over the course of my career, I went to work at some big tech companies like Apple and Symantec. I then did consulting and then eventually started my own consulting company, which I then sold. Then after that, I had the ability to go on and do other fun things like write books and make video games and all that fun stuff. Today, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about why a developer might want to start a consulting company and why it might even be easier than just trying to find a regular job. Kind of a high-level introduction to why you might want to start a consulting company. The first one, and this one I just want to cut straight to, which is I actually do think the odds of success are probably better, especially in a recession, for finding work through consulting and starting a consulting company than it probably even is just sending out resumes. And part of that just comes down to basic numbers. I live in the Seattle area. There are, let's just say, maybe 10, 15, 20 max consulting companies in this area that really do focus on technology. It's probably fewer than that focus on technology because there's a lot of staffing companies that just sort of do anything. They'll put out whatever job you want and fill it, but they don't have any expertise that they bring. So let's think about that for a minute. So let's say that you're a hiring manager and you put out a resume to hire a full-time employee and you get 200 resumes back, which is the kind of numbers that people are reporting right now. That's just a rough set of odds. And, nothing's worse than being number 199 and there's 200 that you need to hit. Whereas if you're getting called on, if you're a middle manager and you've got maybe a contract role to fill or you need some consulting help on something specific, and there's only 10 or 15 companies locally that you even talk to, it's just a very different set of ratios. So that one is one. Another one is that in a recession, middle managers are often given projects. They're told to go accomplish tasks, but then they're also told they can't hire FTEs or full-time employees. In that scenario, what they'll do is they'll go hire a consultant to come in and do an engagement. What you'll find is that in recessions, a lot of the money that might have been available to hire staff gets moved over to hiring consultants to get things done. A couple other reasons. One of them, obviously, you'll learn a lot. And that's probably the scary and most intimidating thing, which is why if somebody's listening to this going, I don't know, it's because you have to learn about all these other aspects. Business development, marketing, finance, HR, all that kind of stuff. And what I would say is that if you want to be a well-rounded person, then learning and understanding about all those different disciplines and fields is incredibly useful. I think that someone who understands and respects all of those disciplines, business development, marketing, HR, they're much more likely both to do well as a business owner, but frankly, they'll probably be more likely to wind up doing well, even if you decide to stick in a more corporate environment, just because you'll learn about all these other disciplines. If you're sitting there saying, well, I'm not having luck finding a job by just sending out resumes, to a certain extent, you kind of don't have anything to lose to just say, I'm going to do consulting and then go out and then try and meet with hiring managers, but have a different relationship. And that's kind of the next piece, which is your goal once you start thinking about doing consulting is to then go meet with a bunch of hiring managers. Honestly, you just say, hey, I want to meet for coffee, 30 minutes or an hour, or maybe you go buy people lunch. Ideally, you've got a network, and this is part of what drives the timeline. This is why you probably may not want to start doing consulting like day one. There's a lot to be said for starting out getting and working in a corporate job or two for a while at least. Obviously, one of them is just knowing what you're doing. Like, it's pretty hard to say, I'm going to go do consulting and then also be like, but I just started out. But the other thing is that when you go to work, you're hopefully building out a network. And that includes both developers and other members of the technical community that you might want to work with someday or hire or whatever, as well as meeting middle managers that you might want to hire a consulting service, right? Those pieces kind of all come together. You've got your own skills. You say, yeah, I'm going to do consulting. You want to meet with some of these middle managers, and then hopefully you've got developer friends that you would like to work with someday. And that's actually the best scenarios. Like, you get to work with the people that you like to work with on fun projects, right? Another reason, of course, is that if you start your own company, then you're building an asset that eventually, hopefully, you can sell someday. You may not think about that as much when you're getting started. Certainly, if you're thinking about like going into a partnership or just whatever your life might look like, you still do want to think through what does it look like when it ends, because eventually it will, right? Even in a scenario where you do it for 40 years, the operating agreements that you put together when you start out are going to drive what that future looks like. You will need to sort through some of the legal and the contract stuff. There are really good templates for all of this, all the contract stuff that you might want to do just to start with. And then, of course, you can talk to an attorney as well. But you want to understand what it is, because if you go to the attorney and you say, I want to start a company, and they say, well, what do you want to do? If you don't have clarity, you won't get good results. You may want to meet with managers, hiring managers first before you get too deep into this, but you'll want to think through, like, why are you even doing this consulting company? And you should have some nuance, and most likely that nuance will come from your own experience as a developer. So I started doing Java in 1995. Focusing on Java for consulting was kind of a no-brainer. You still want to have something unique that you can bring to the table. At various stages doing consulting, that unique value prop, the thing that made us special, changed over time. One of the companies I was working at, this was very early on in Agile, like 2004 to 2008 type time frame. Agile became the go-to-market that we built the whole thing around. That was unique and rare enough at that time. That was something we could do seminars on and talk about. And I'd talk to people both for hiring and for clients, and they'd be excited about it. It was new and fresh. Then later on, that turned into continuous integration and continuous delivery. So that was the unique thing that we talked about. I have a friend of mine who did technical product marketing and product management stuff down in the Bay Area, and that was just what they focused on. At each step, you want something where you say to the person that you're going to hire and the person that might hire your business, this is what we do, and it's unique enough that they don't just think of you as yet another staffing partner. That uniqueness is also what then lets you build a pipeline of talent and a pipeline of customers. And, certainly when you're starting out, if at all possible, I would say try to focus on a local market. So like in Seattle, for example, that was a great place to both find people and find project work. My advice would be start out with local, start out with people that you know, and your goal, frankly, is probably just to get to 5 or 10 people as quickly as you can. A few other tips before I go. You're probably going to want to just start with doing hourly work. You may want to get fancier later on, but early on, the people that hire you and the people that you hire will probably be comfortable with an hourly model to get started. Once you get to the point where you've got 5 or 10 people and you want to start pivoting things around, then you can think about other models. But certainly when you're getting started out, I'd start with that. For rates, everybody always asks what I charge. First thing I'd say is if it's long-term engagements, like at least 6 months to a year, then you might do 2x salaries. So that means if you pay somebody $50 an hour, you're going to charge $100 an hour. You're probably good, just as a ratio with simple round numbers. Let's say that you do something like training or something like that, where it's very specialized and you only go out for, a week at a time to help folks out. In that scenario, you might do 4x the salary costs. Instead of it being, charging $100 for if somebody gets 50, you might charge 200 or maybe even 250, depending on what you're doing and what you can model. And that varies depending on your locale. So I'm saying 50 and 100, but if you're in a market where people get paid, $100 an hour to do work, then multiply out those ratios and you'll come up with some reasonable numbers. Obviously, this is a huge topic. We could spend hours and hours and hours on it. Things like, how do you approach naming your company? I've got an article up on the ChangeNode website, so go ahead and check that out if you're curious about some tips and like a checklist to go through for naming things. You're going to want to think about what your company is going to look like at different sizes. The first thing that you'll usually outsource is stuff like your finance and your accounting and maybe some of your HR support. But kind of think through, like, well, what does this company look like when it's 1 person, 5 person, 10? Part of the point of doing consulting is that you kind of shift how you think about it from, I go to work, I do my developer thing, and I go home or whatever, to now you think about things really much more holistically. The more that you have variety about how you think about your job and what your challenges are, the more fun and exciting consulting can be. For most developers, I think the biggest thing that they struggle with is business development, and that might kind of drive how you think about maybe even finding somebody else to partner with when you start your business. And with all that, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, this is a huge topic. I could spend hours and hours and hours talking about it. If there's anything specific that you'd like for a follow-up, go ahead and throw it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Take care. Goodbye.